know that, but when I stuck my hand on that fire, oh, I started saying hot, hot. I didn't even know what hot was, but I know what it felt like. Come on, somebody. Anybody know what hot feel like? Come on, somebody. We learn obedience through suffering. You know, God, a lot of times people think that God is always taking all the fun out of life because he tells us about sin. The only reason why God disallows sin is because sin is a bad thing. And sin affects people's lives. Sin makes your life less profitable. It's less worthy or less pleasure when you start dealing and tampering with sin. It has a way of robbing you of what God would desire you to have in this life. But many times we think, you know, he's like our parents. You remember they always was telling you what to do. If we'd only listen to them, we'd be better off. Amen? Now, last week we were talking about desperate times. Anybody ever been desperate? I mean, real desperate. I've been desperate for a lot of things, and we're talking about how desperation will put you in a motivated stage to try to make something happen. When you get desperate, you be trying to make things happen. Come on, somebody. Amen. And so the only problem about being desperate is to put you in a bad situation sometimes. Come on, because we don't always be thinking when we doing desperate things. You know, I remember one time when I really ran into some real desperate times I was a lifeguard one time, a junior lifeguard actually. I hadn't gotten my full certification. But how many of you know that sometimes we think we're bigger and better than we really are?
Yep.
You know, I thought I was real good, you know, so because I had a little junior lifeguard badge. And so the lifeguard, he left me on duty one day. He was chasing after the girl. And, you know, he trusted me because I had never really done nothing in his sight to really make him not trust me. So he left and went across to the dance hall because a whole busload of new girls came. And oh man, he was excited. So he had to go over there in his swimming trunks. You know, so let everybody know where he was because he couldn't go over to the dance hall. But he left me on duty, to make a long story short. And I was sitting up in the chair just like he did. I did everything like he did. The only thing about it is I really didn't have full certification. So a little girl, she didn't, you know, children always miscalculate which end of the pool is the deep end. So this little girl ran and jumped down in the deep end of the pool. Of course, she started to drown. She thought it was 3 feet, it was 12 feet. So she jumped down in the water and she was drowning, you know, and I always saw them jump off the, you know, the chair down into the water, you know. They always told us, you know, in school, the junior lifeguard, jump in the pool. Don't dive in the pool. But of course, I saw the older guys dive. So I tried to do what they did. When I went to dive, my foot slipped. When I went to push off the edge of that chair, my foot slipped. And I fell. I just about hit the concrete. Now this girl is drowning in the meantime while I'm going through these psychological changes of understanding who I really am. This child is over here in the water drowning now. I'm up here. First of all, she got a junior lifeguard in position in her life. Somebody that's already overstepping their boundaries and really not understanding what is necessary to accomplish the task. It ain't about you trying to figure out what to do. When somebody really needs help, you need to know what to do. Amen. So I slipped off and dived in the water and belly flopped in the water. It's like to knock the wind out. But this child's still drowning in the meantime while I'm struggling trying to get to her. So when I was doing that, I was trying to recover from the impact of hitting that water and hitting that side of the pool and still yet keep my focus on going to get this child. So I was getting towards her and I was swimming towards her, but my mind was on me because I was still hurt from what had happened. And so when you do that, when you get distracted and you're trying to accomplish one task, but your mind somewhere else, it'll get you messed up. So when I got all the way to her, instead of me stopping short of her, when people drowning, they'll grab on to anything. You ever thought about that? That when human beings are suffering or drowning or starving or in need of anything, you will get celebrated like you something, all of that. They don't care who it is, come help them, as long as they get help. Can I get it with? So when I got there, I got a little too close to her, and she reached around my neck and grabbed me. When she grabbed me around my neck, she was probably strong as an adult at that point because of the panic in her life. People will grip on to you like it's their last leg. You think they loving you, they trying to survive. Can I get away? You waiting on me to preach, I'm already in there. But anyway, I'm telling you, when she grabbed me, she started to choke me. And when I tried to pull her hands off, you know, we started to sink and go to the bottom. First of all, she was drowning. Then by me doing things that I ain't have no business doing, and I went out there to her and she grabbed me by my neck, it caused me to be drowned, along with her. Now I went all the way to the bottom. I had to take her to the bottom, and it became a who could hold their breath the longest contest. Because she was choking me so tight that when I did finally get her loose, she had put a crease in my neck. I mean, the crease stayed in my neck. That's how desperate she was holding on to me. A lot of us in life is doing the very same thing that this little child was doing. Finally, I held her underwater so long that when she was looking at me, bubbles started to seep out her mouth. She started to lose her ability to hold her breath underwater. You ever been underwater like that? And you start losing your ability to hold your breath? And so what happened is she finally had to let something go. She decided after a while that I was underwater, either I'm not going to save her, or I don't know how to save her. But one way or the other, she started taking matters in her own hands. She let go of me. See, I learned that technique. That was a last gasp technique that you have to do when your life saves. Sometimes when people do that, you got to just go underwater and stay there till that person finally say, I can't breathe. So she shot to the top, and I just pushed her on to the top so that she could get another breath so I could come up behind her and bring her in. So finally I got up to her and pushed her to the side of the pool and drugged myself out at the time when the lifeguard was coming up. And he realized what was happening. He said, what happened? And when I told the story, brother, I was really disappointed in my own self. But you know one thing? I learned a lot about life saving from that incident right there. How many of you know that all of us are lifeguards?
Amen. Amen.
That we all tend to try to save people.
Right.
Or to save ourselves.
Amen.
Only to find ourselves still drowning.
Right.
Come on, turn with me to the book of 1 Samuel, the 21st chapter. We're going to begin at the 10th verse. We're going to pick up kind of where we left off. We were talking about desperate times. Verse 10. The 21st chapter, verse 10. We all tend to latch on to people trying to save us, but we only find ourselves still drowning. Can I get it with me?
Amen.
Verse 10. Then David arose and fled that day from before Saul and went to, I can't pronounce that word, Achorich, the king of Gath. And the servant of Achorich said to him, is this not David, the king of the land? Did they not sing of him to one another in dancing and singing? Saul has slain his thousands and David his tens of thousands. Now David took his words to heart and was very much afraid of Achorich, the king of Gath. So he changed his behavior before them, pretending madness in their hands, scratching on the doors of the gates, and letting his saliva fall down his beard. Then Achorich said to his servants, look, you see the man is insane. Why have you brought him to me? I have a need of a madman, that you have brought this fellow to play the madman in my presence. Shall this fellow come into my house? Shall this fellow come into my house? I like to use for thought dry times. Dry times.